There has never been a more important time to move in a vegan direction. Whether you're ready to start, restart, or re-energize your vegan or plant-based practice, this podcast is for you. I'm Michelle Olander, life coach, vegan, ADHD matriarch, travel lover, and smoothie loather. And I know that it's the details that get in the way of your vegan journey. But I like to believe that the obstacle is always the way. So every week we meet here where I translate the tools of life coaching and Stoic philosophy. I bring you actionable tips, some laughs, interesting guests, and vegan ideas for everyone at any age. All to help you veg your best. Episode 233, is it even possible? Interview with Arianna Beetz, Nourishing the Future with Plant-Based Innovations. Hello, my Veg Your Besties. Welcome and welcome back. Today, I've got a special opportunity to introduce you to someone I really think you're going to find inspiring and I think you're going to love learning about here on Veg Your Best. It's a young woman who's doing her best to shake up the world of plant-based nutrition. Dr. Arianna Beetz, the founder of Nourish and the creator of the world's first high-protein instant Chia pudding. And Arianna's journey is as inspiring as her new product. As a first-generation immigrant from Peru, the first in her family to attend college, Arianna Beetz earned her PhD from Wharton. And Arianna is devoted to making holistic well-being accessible to everyone, regardless of their socioeconomic background. Arianna Beetz grew up with a deep appreciation from her mother for the power of food, something she learned firsthand at home with her mother's nourishing Peruvian breakfasts, which were made very often with quinoa, chia, and maca. But after years of studying psychology and nutrition and working in consulting, seeing firsthand how poor diet affects health outcomes, she knew she really had to take some action. So instead of staying in academia or in a corporate career, she took the bold leap into food entrepreneurship and determined to create a product that truly nourishes people and the planet. So you're going to get to hear all about her new product and her journey and Arianna's mission for Nourish and partnering with Trees for the Future, an organization I didn't know about before. Trees for the Future. And so planting a tree for every purchase to help reforest the planet and create sustainable food sources for communities in need. So if you are someone who's ever struggled to find a quick protein-packed vegan snack without some weird additives, or you just love a good entrepreneurial success story, this episode's going to be for you. I'll see you on the other side. Arianna Beetz, PhD, former Fulbright scholar, and entrepreneur. Welcome to Veg Your Best.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. It's an honor.
Well, it's an honor for us to feature someone as accomplished as yourself. And you are going from the world of academia. You're going from a different lifestyle into a vegan entrepreneurial spot. And I'm so excited to hear all about it. But first, tell me all about Chia quinoa pudding.
Yeah, so it's a fun food that is very common in Peru. And it's not even called a pudding. They basically make it as a drink. In Peru, you go to street food places in the area of the Andes and some in Lima as well. And what you find is you'll find street food of people mixing quinoa with all of these superfoods, including chia, maca, kiwicha, all this really yummy warm stuff that you can find. And it's like so yummy. And so my mom, she made that for me growing up. And it was such a really yummy, cozy thing to have every day growing up. And she, even when we moved to the US, she kind of continued making that. And it's just a cozy reminder of home, and that's what I try to reinvent with Nourish.
And I hear she takes credit for all your success
Yes.
by having served you that every day.
Exactly. She always jokes, it's like, oh, I fed you this omega-3, all the omega-3s that I fed you growing up. It really is the how you got to college, how I got my PhD and everything. And I'm a deep believer in holistic nutrition, so I do believe that there's some truth to it. And it's funny because when I was younger and I moved to the US at first, I was quite embarrassed at these like funny breakfasts that my mom made me, and she would always also pack me like lentils for lunch. And I remember I wanted, pizza and to be cool like everybody else. But now I'm just so thankful for that nutrition that she provided for me.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, Ariana, how you changed the trajectory of your academic life and a little bit about what your passions are, what your interests are that led you here.
Yeah, sure. So I've always been, perhaps because my mom gave me this upbringing, but always really fascinated about holistic well-being and how the nutrition and psychology impact how you live. And I think it's just because of my upbringing. Like we didn't really have much growing up, but what I did have is my mom always prioritized nutrition. She raised me on a nanny salary, but no matter what, a good food was always on the table, and she was always so positive towards me, really taught me that I could do anything that I set my heart to. So it was really interesting to see like nutrition and psychology coming together to impact ultimately life outcomes. So that was something I was really passionate about growing up. And then when I got to my undergrad, I actually thought I wanted to become an follow integrative medicine. So that's came in as a pre-med, but then I took a positive psychology class that I absolutely fell in love with. And I still remember to this day. So it's Angela Duckworth's class. She became a mentor of mine, still love her today. But it talked about the impact of psychology on your telomeres and positive well-being. And I don't want to get too sciencey, but basically, the big picture was that how you feel really impacts how long you live. So, and that was really fascinating. I decided to get to follow psychology and nutrition instead, and just really focusing on that. And got my PhD really focused on employee well-being. So that was something that I was really passionate about. But back through all that, I was still really focused on nutrition. So a lot of my research in my undergrad had to do, actually, my first like undergrad paper was called Stress is Dessert Spelled Backwards. And it was how your eating, yeah, your eating choices get really impacted by how stressed you are, and always like really thinking about how they're related. And yeah, fast forward to getting my PhD. I've always had the hypothesis that as soon as I, have the financial means to eat well, I'll be great, and then I'll be able to eat all this amazing food, and be really healthy. But I noticed people around me just like didn't have time to eat. It didn't matter if they were like financially able to buy healthy food. They just didn't have the time. People around me were getting sick, left and right. And I grew up in a family where type 2 diabetes is really prevalent in my family. A lot of my family members suffer from my dementia and Alzheimer's. So I thought I needed to do something to stop this. And when my aunt that helped raise me then was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, as many of my family members have done, that was just really the ending point. And I thought I have to tackle this crisis of health, because there's two things that are going on here. Some people don't have access financially, and some people just don't have the time. And I wanted to help solve for that. So yeah, that's where Nourish came about.
So nourish, I mean, it is so interesting. Food is this nexus, it's this center point of virtually everything about our society in terms of economics, in terms of how our roads transport things, that as well as that first connection with our mother or guardian or parent, and then of course everything about our health. And it is, I find it so interesting doing this job. Also, you mentioned Angela Duckworth, her ideas of grit, her ideas about fixed and
Growth
A
mindset.
growth mindset, right?
Right.
I mean, those are all part of how we handle food, how we handle nourishing our families and
Right.
ourselves.
Yeah.
It's such an interesting thing. So I love your mission. I read on your website that you're interested in democratizing access to wellness science. So this is obviously not a one dimensional product for you. This is something that's really all encompassing. So tell us then what the product is that you've begun with. I know it's just launched. So tell us about that because these sorts of plant-based and vegan products, there's a lot going on.
Yeah, yeah. So what, like prior when I was an undergrad, well, I'm still am. I'm very into fitness. So like I played a little bit with like racing, with bodybuilding, with all this fun stuff. And so to me, getting protein is super duper important. And when I started like going away from dairy, I needed something that was really high protein. So that was what I was trying to solve for is high protein, high fiber. I wanted it to be comparable in terms of protein count to having the Greek yogurt that I used to have all the time. So that's where the number one thing that I wanted to develop was that. And then during or around that time, I was trying to make like something that was comparable to Greek yogurt on the go, but was used plant-based protein. So I used to mix all this stuff up together in my kitchen, and then I started putting chia in it, and I discovered that there's powdered chia. So this concoction, dry concoction, I would take on the go, and it was using a lot of these Peruvian superfoods that my mom used to have. I put lucuma in it. I put like cacao nibs and started taking it around everywhere with me. And that's what ultimately developed into uh, Nourish just from experimenting in my kitchen. And yeah, the product itself is really, I would say it's got a really fun texture. It's got a little bit of like a mochi-like texture because of the ground chia seed powder that we use. And what's cool about it is this chia seed powder is actually upcycled. So it's rescued from whenever you have chia, cold pressed chia oil, there's this amazing meal that's left over that's really high protein, high fiber, and that's the core binder of Nourish. And so that allows us to bypass any sort of binders or icky stuff, which I'm really, if you haven't noticed, passionate about nutrition. So I don't want to put any like fillers and stuff in my body. So yeah, then it's got a Peruvian twist with one flavor is lucuma, which is a Peruvian superfood that tastes a little bit like caramel butterscotch flavor, and the other one's dark chocolate bliss. So ch chocolate chips, cacao nibs, and cocoa on it. So
How could that be wrong?
no, that's and it's been very fun to get like feedback on it. And some people really love the dark chocolate, others really love the lucuma. So it's fun. Yeah.
So now, just between experimenting in your kitchen for your
Yeah.
own protein
Yes.
needs and finding upcycled chia,
Yeah.
how did that happen?
Yeah, no, it's so funny you ask because how it happened was that I am all when I was experimenting in my kitchen, this was mostly just for myself. I'm like a superfood hunter. So I'm always on Google looking for different superfoods to add to my concoctions and also looking for different plant-based protein types. And so when I was ordering more chia, I just discovered chia powder, like chia protein powder. And I ordered some out of curiosity, and I discovered that when you just add water to that, it instantly turns into like this mochi like pudding texture. And I thought that was so cool. So that's when I started using that to make my puddings. And then ultimately, when I started developing this to actually sell as a product, I wanted it to be as sustainable as possible. So the suppliers that I connected with, this amazing supplier, Botanical Innovations, they're like so heartfelt on reducing food waste, etc. And they had this amazing upcycled chia protein powder. And it was even this is like me geeking out, but it was thinner, like more finely ground than the one that I formerly used to use, which just allows it to become a pudding texture even faster. So that's really how that came about.
That's very interesting because I've had chia. I don't think it's been the powdered chia. So
Mhm.
chia pudding that I've had has much more of a grainy texture,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
So this becomes a little bit smoother
Yeah, it's almost like I would describe it like a mochi-like texture. It's really interesting. It's unlike anything I've ever had. It's a really like almost like marshmallow fluff, I would
Hmm.
say.
Oh,
So,
wow. How could
yeah.
that be bad either? So tell us. So now, so you've developed this. You found the upcycled chia powder, and how do you turn that? How do you go? It's not just for me and my family and my friends when I want to make sure that we're nourishing ourselves after a workout or for a workout. How does it
Yeah.
become nourish the company?
Yeah, that's a great question. So around this time, if I mentioned like my aunt getting this diabetes diagnosis, that was like in 2022 around there. And around this time I had gotten COVID. So I had 2 weeks off to just think about like what do I want to do with my life? I which sounds crazy, but literally, I kid you not, since I had gone from, undergrad at Penn, which was like insane workload, to then getting a research master's during my Fulbright year, to then straight into my PhD, I just had not had the time to just think. So that week and a half of just thinking, what do I want to do with my life was really transformative. And so I had been doing this truly for me for a bit, and then I just realized, this is something that people really need. Maybe they can help people to like have a convenient, healthy solution that, if they're able to even just have one healthier meal a week, then that's really me making a positive impact. So around that time, I was gonna start working at McKinsey, the management consulting company, and so I decided I'm just going to use those 2 years to learn as much as possible of how to run a business, etc., save as much money as possible. So even though I had my, the finally getting a real salary after a ton of studying, I was like, I'm going to save every dime. I'm still going to live like I do now, and I'm just going to put everything into like trying to develop Nourish. So those 2 years while I was working at McKinsey, all I did was like really doing pop-ups around the Tampa Bay of like asking for feedback from friends, asking for feedback from strangers, like figuring out the flavors that I wanted, talking to different suppliers, etc. And then ultimately, when I felt like I was in a place that I was ready to start the company and sell the product, I quit and went all in. And that was just around June of last year. So yeah.
Well, and you've had just such a blue chip education, haven't you? All through Penn. So you were at Penn and for your undergraduate, master's, and for your PhD.
So my Fulbright, I did a master's in Lancaster University, and then as part of my PhD, I also got a master's at Penn. So
Wow.
yeah. Philly is like a second home to me at
I
this point. So
guess. I guess. Well, that's so, and obviously you just have access to some great minds and some great people to mentor you and to
yes,
help you on your in your thought process of all of this.
absolutely. Yeah.
So, how can people learn more about it in terms of being customers? Who do you see as your perfect customer?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think my perfect customer is people that are really busy but have this desire to eat healthier. So that's really who I'm trying to help. It's people like I was when I was a consultant or a PhD. Sometimes I didn't even have 10 minutes for a quick meal and I needed to have high protein, high fiber things on the go. So I think anybody that's just looking for a fast protein solution and knows that fillers, additives are, bad for you and maybe is sensitive to dairy or just does not want dairy and wants, plant-based and wants, I think that I'm really hoping to help solve that problem. And then if you do have more time, what I really like to do is I joke if I'm, really on the go, I'll just add water or milk to nourish stir and then I have it in a minute. Or if I have 10 minutes to spare, I like to decorate it with like fruits and nuts and all that fun stuff. So it's a versatile product that I'm really hoping to one help people that are really busy. But then also two, I think another thing that I've gotten the feedback of is that a lot of people don't like protein powders. It has quite a bit of a chalky taste. It's watery. So I'm making protein fun. So it's got, the same macros of a protein powder, but it's spoonable. It's got this fun mochi like texture and you can eat it. So for like people like my mom that are now she's nearing her 70s. Hopefully she doesn't hear me say that, but she's always looking for more protein now as she nears this age and doesn't necessarily want to get it from dairy, etc. So this is a good way for her as well.
Yeah, a lot of our audience are people in my age range. I'm 65, and I
Mhm.
also have been made. It's always a joke when you're vegan that people say, "Where do you get your protein?" And we
Exactly.
can get plenty of protein, but at a
Yes.
certain age or in certain situations, you do want to make sure that you're getting it.
Yeah.
And sometimes we've kind of been spitballing how many grams of protein we have for a while, and we want to just make sure. And this sounds like something that you're getting a certain amount to add it in, or
Exactly.
if you've been sick and you haven't been eating all your foods
Yeah.
we just had family, everybody had a virus for a while, and so those are the sorts of things. It's nice to know what you're getting. How many grams of protein are in a serving of
It's
Nourish?
22 grams of protein. So, and again, that was really important to me because exactly to your point, like I don't know, I have like usually tofu for lunch, tempeh for dinner, and then for breakfast also, I wasn't really sure like, because again, I wanted something to fill that like Greek yogurt spot as well. So yeah, this is helping.
That's marvelous. So tell us how we can learn more, decide whether we want to try it, how we can try, how my listeners can support you by learning all about your company and your mission to, help. What would I also read? Decrease the barriers to well-being. I love that. I love
Thank
that.
you. Thank you. And just as a side note, I like one thing that I'm really passionate about is like also sustainability. So we that's why the upcycled aspect comes in and that's we do plant a tree per product sold with an incredible organization called Trees for the Future, which not only helps like reforest forests, but what's really cool is that they actually help women make edible forests. So they're like fruit forests, fruit trees, etc. And then they can actually sell them in their local markets and make a living. So that's just a side note that my mission is like really with Nourish is really just to nourish people on the planet for the short and long term. So
Tell
we're
me,
really
tell me about that company, that organization, Trees for the
trees for
Future.
the future. Yeah, I
And,
highly suggest people to check it out. It's amazing.
and where do they plant those trees? Or
In
is there
Africa,
in
yeah.
Africa?
And like, yeah, exactly. They have different countries in Africa that they work with, and they're incredible. They've been recognized by the UN as I'm not exactly sure the term, I might butcher it, but as an organization that's like extremely helpful as well. So they have a partnership with the UN, and they're really cool. So side plug for them. Listeners should also check them out in addition to me. So,
We'll put them into the show notes. That's for Trees for the Future. I'm gonna make sure I
mhm.
write that down. And so that is a kind of a we talk about holistic health. It's a holistic company plan as well.
Yes, yeah. And that's something I'm really passionate about because, I worked really hard to get my education. I could have just stayed at McKinsey and, had a traditional corporate career, or I could have stayed in academia. But to me, it's like I really gave this up for just the mission of really, really nourishing people and the planet. And I think if that's like my gold star and otherwise, like if I don't achieve that mission, I might as well have just stayed an academic. So, which is incredible, but it's just to this particular mission of really being boots on the ground and helping impacting people's health and hopefully helping people make decisions that have, lower carbon footprints versus other sources of protein, then that's what I'm about.
And if there's anything I've learned in the last maybe 20 years is that there is no one, you're not done or one. You're not done with academia. I'm sure you will be
Right.
very involved throughout the rest of your
Exactly.
life with it. You're
Yeah.
not done with corporate
Right.
consultation. I'm sure you're
Exactly.
going to be more valuable than ever after having gone through this
Yeah.
experience. And you'll be, I'm sure, adding many, many more product lines. How do you decide whether to stay with one product or how do you decide as a entrepreneur?
That's a great question. So I think right now the reason that I went with this chia pudding is because it was really solving something. And then I'm always looking for problems. Like what problems are people having and how can I help solve them? And so I think I really like taking a problem driven approach. And I think I can see patterns of that. And that's, I think, why I went into academia because I always had these questions and problems that I wanted to solve and research them. So I've taken a little bit of a parallel approach to entrepreneurship. So yeah.
Now, where do we buy the products? Are they online? Are they in
Yes.
stores yet?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. nourishsupermeals.com. And I have a discount code for listeners as well. So they're more than welcome to try. And right now I just have the bigger bags on the website, but in a few weeks we'll also be launching smaller sample packs if people, aren't committed yet to a big bag and just want to give some samples a try as well. So yeah.
So online, and how will where will that go? Do you think that will I be able to go to Trader Joe's or Whole Foods and
Yeah,
buy it there
no,
too?
that's definitely the long-term hope. That's a long-term vision. I'm trying to build my tribe, quote unquote, now direct to consumer first, gather as much feedback as possible, and build a community. And then the hope is to make it more widely accessible via retailer. So,
Well, that is very exciting, Ariana, or should I call you Dr.
oh,
Beetz?
Ari is totally fine.
It's really exciting. A lot of the people listen, as I said, are older, but a lot of them are also people who want to bring some portion of their activism, their passion to reaching out to other people, sometimes through a nonprofit, sometimes through a business. What kind of advice so far do you have for how to meld those two? Your ideas about what's important and also going out into the world.
That's a well, I've read this book, Seven Habits of Effective People, I think it's
Highly
called.
effective, I think.
Yes,
Yes.
yeah, exactly. And so he talks about what you want when he makes you go through this exercise of you thinking about when you're dying and what do you want people to remember you for, and then to backtrack for that. And it sounds cheesy and dramatic, but I've traveled a lot and I've noticed that they're like more in Eastern cultures really coming to the forefront with your death and then working backwards through that really helps you decide like what things do I want to prioritize in life? And how can I either A, make them, a hobby or be a business as well? So I think that's been a driving factor into how I make decisions and what I want to prioritize. That's the first thing. And then I think the second thing is, be okay with taking risks. It's really scary if you want to start a nonprofit, a business, etc. But ultimately, in my experience, whenever I haven't done things out of fear, I just regret them later. So,
When you haven't taken the
yes,
action.
exactly. I regret not doing it later. Exactly. So,
I find that interesting. I also agree. I often think about the end result. I think about I love to travel. I have 7 grandkids and I think about being on a plane to go see one of my grandchildren and being maybe in my 90s, and I want to visualize myself walking on and off the plane and
mhm.
lifting my suitcase into the
Heck yeah.
overhead compartment and pulling it out without having to ask for help. And that's kind of my prime directive, is to like
Right.
aim for all that. And what
Right.
does that mean? What does that take from me? That's
Right.
interesting. And I think, and you're right. I guess that's very true for anything we're doing. I tend to take messy action, which is just like throw everything and see what works. But I love the idea of being a little more intentional about things. So, Ari, you're very educated. You've talked to lots and lots of people. What surprised you? What did you go, wow, I never thought about that?
That's a good
Or were
question.
you just 100% prepared?
No. Oh my gosh. Actually, well, I don't have it on right now, ironically, but 99% of the time I wear a bracelet that says fail faster. Um, and I think probably what's surprised me the most is how much I don't. know. Like there are just so many things, and it's fascinating. I love, 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 love learning, and this experience of entrepreneurship has actually felt like going back to school in a way because I'm learning so, so, so much. And I absolutely love what I learned in my PhD. I love what I learned in consulting, but there is just nothing like being boots on the ground and applying your learnings, and it's crazy. The amount of mistakes I make daily is insane. And if you keep it all to yourself, I think it can feel isolating and silly. But the more I talk to entrepreneurs and very successful ones, I have a friend whose husband is a very successful entrepreneur, and he was talking about this new company he started. And then I was like, "How's it going?" He's like, "Oh, I'm just trying to take it as fast as possible so I can make all the mistakes that I need to be able to pivot and then succeed." And to me, that was so crazy because here's the guy that started several companies, and this is just his mentality. He just embraces the mistakes. So this really pivoting into this mindset of you're gonna mess up a ton of times. It's just how quickly you get up and, take that feedback and move on. That's been the most surprising and interesting, cool thing, especially to a person that comes, from academia where we're like very perfectionists in a way and, really taking our time through everything. It's been a fun new switch.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was recently. It was I think an organizational psychologist who wrote, if you read my back catalog of articles, you'll see that I'm not afraid to be wrong. That he and I that gave me so much more. I felt so much more credibility about his work because he's not just trying to say the safe thing. He's trying to say, this is the argument I have now. And then, well, I've learned something more. There's been some other information because we took that step. I love that. And I'm wondering, do you feel with you're a younger woman, do you feel that still women are somewhat more socialized not to take messy action and break things fast?
1,000%. I actually just got back from a trade show last week and it was an all women panel. And then they said women's 70% is usually a man's 110%. So there's 100%. And I see the way that women and men interact when they're pitching, the way they verbalize things, and it's definitely true. And it's tough. And you see it in statistics of entrepreneurs that I believe that it's only 2% of venture capital funding go to women, for example. And if you do a little bit more research, it's, men tend to, I don't want to generalize, but in general, being a little bit more ready and fast to go and whatever you have tends to be easier for men. I don't want to generalize because I can't think of any particular research that I've read that does that, but that just seems like something I've noticed for sure.
It feels true to you
Yes,
still.
exactly. Yes, it feels true. But my academic self is just making me think. I don't think I've seen any particular research, but it feels very true.
That's interesting. And what do you think? So if you feel that, if you've seen some of that, what do you try to do yourself to maybe offset it or overcompensate for that in terms of making decisions and noticing when that shows up in your decision making?
Yeah, no, I think just internalizing that bit, like this 70% is probably the 110%, I think has been really helpful. And then secondly, actually one of my friends in academia, I'm not sure if she pursued this idea or not, but was doing like the crappy first draft effect, and she was studying that. And basically the idea is that, I don't want to butcher it, that if you just put out there that this might be like, the unfinished first draft and acknowledge it, then it's easier to then ask for feedback. So really embracing that mentality. And even that's how I'm going into the market with Nourish. I'm really passionate about the product. I think it's a high quality product, but acknowledging, as every product it develops and I'm open for feedback, I think that's made it easier to launch. So
I recently shared on the podcast a quote I read that you can always edit a bad page, but you cannot edit a blank one.
exactly, that's beautiful.
And it really reminded me that, just get it out there because then you can refine, then you can
Right.
iterate, then you can ask for feedback, of course.
Mhm.
All right. So this is, I want to respect your time, Dr. Arianna Beetz, but I want to make sure that everybody knows how to find you. So the company is called
Nourish Super Meals. So you can go nourishsupermeals.com. The company itself is Nourish. Yeah.
yes, nourishsupermeals.com is the website. Is that
Right.
what we
Yes.
call it? The website. And currently you've got two flavors that
Yes.
we can purchase.
Yes,
And tell
exactly.
us about that first flavor that was a word was not familiar with.
Yeah. Lucuma almond spice is it's
Lucuma.
very so it's almond spice. So it's got chunks of almond spice from cinnamon and ginger and then a slight caramelly undertone from lucuma. And lucuma, as a fun fact, is the most popular ice cream flavor in Peru. So when I moved to the US and there was no lucuma, imagine you move to another country and there's no like vanilla or chocolate. That's what I felt like. So it's very, very common. And so that's just a homage to my childhood. And then the second one is dark chocolate bliss. So it's very dark chocolate. It's like 100% unsweetened chocolate chips, cacao nibs, and then unalkalized cocoa powder. So it's got a creamy dark chocolate taste.
Very exciting. I'm going to send everybody there and we'll, in the show notes, tell people exactly how they can try to order.
Right.
And you'll have different sizes available later. But if they want to try
Yes.
the larger size, that's
Yes.
going to be available
Yes.
basically
Now.
immediately.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
I'm not sure exactly when this
Well, yeah.
episode.
So hopefully the little sizes will be there by then.
We will have the accurate description in the
Perfect.
show notes when this actually goes live. Dr. Arianna Beetz, Nourish, thank you for being on Veg Your Best.
Thank you so much. This was so fun.
So, what did you think about Arianna? I absolutely love the way Arianna Beetz combines her Peruvian roots, her academic research, her plant-based innovation and intelligence to create something new, problem-solving, and nourishing. If you're as excited as I am to try Nourish, head over to nourishsupermeals.com. Remember, it's not just a snack, right? It's the first ever high-protein instant chia pudding made with clean, simple, sustainable ingredients. And thank you to Nourish's mission-driven approach. Every single purchase plants a tree with Trees for the Future, which we hope will help both the environment and the communities where those trees are planted around the world. And of course, if you've enjoyed today's episode, please take a quick minute to subscribe or leave a review, or best of all, share with a friend. That is the most high praise we can get here. So your support helps us grow this community and bring you more amazing guests like Arianna, not just the big names. We love to hear people's stories as they're starting out, creating solutions for the problems we are all too familiar with. Now, one other thing about Arianna, if you join her newsletter or follow her on Instagram, Arianna Beetz, Nourish Super Meals, you're going to find that they will be so grateful and they will plant a tree through the organization Trees for the Future. They'll plant a tree as a thank you for signing up for a newsletter or as a follower on Instagram. So the special discount code, if you're ready to try the Nourish products, courtesy of Arianna Beetz, is Veg Your Best, BOGO. Veg Your Best, BOGO, as in buy one, get one. Veg Your Best, BOGO at the checkout for the products. And I will have that written specifically in the show notes. But if you remember, Veg Your Best, VEDGE. So is that too many letters, too much spelling? Anyway, Veg Your Best, BOGO at checkout, and look in the show notes for this episode to see the links and the specific discount code. So anyway, until next time, remember, every single plant-based choice you make counts. Every extra minute you take to choose something that walks on the earth a little bit lighter counts, no matter how you veg your best. Veg Your Best podcast production, music, and editing by Charlie Weinshank. Thanks, Charlie. Before you go, it would mean so much to me and the Veg Your Best team if you would hit subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, or share with someone you think might be interested. Something about algorithms. It helps bump us up a little in the rankings. And that's the best way to help others find the podcast and for us to find our audience. So until next week, make it easy and veg your best.